Hey guys, it's Georgia here, and I just wanted to do a video because I said I was going to do a special one at the end of the month. Well, guess what? It's the end of the month, and the reason that this is a special video is because today is a rather momentous occasion for me, and it actually marks 2 years self-harm free. Now, that's not just cutting, but it's full, any sort of self-harm free for an entire 2 years, which... yes, I've got a big smile on my face, and I'm not even going to apologise for it because I should be proud, and everyone would tell me that I should be proud, so I am. I'm going to turn around and I'm just going to out and out say I am chuffed to bits that I've finally managed to reach this milestone because I never thought I would. So as a quick warning, this video obviously will contain mention of self-harm, and I'm going to briefly, although not in any graphic detail, mention about how bad my self-harm got, as in sort of how regularly I was doing it and to what degree. But like I said, it will not be graphic, so don't worry. But as a quick warning, it will involve self-harm, talking about it, so if you're easily triggered, do be careful while watching, or don't watch at all. But it's mainly a celebratory video anyway. It's just sort of me telling my story about my journey with self-harm, how bad it got, how dark it got, and how great it is now. And I'm not trying to brag or anything. The reason I'm saying this is because I want to inspire other people to do the same thing and prove that you can do it. If I can, after 10 years of self-harming, it is still possible to stop and become self-harm free. And that's the whole reason of this video. And I also want to mention quickly, I have done a blog on my Wordpress, which is Sharp Talker at Wordpress, which I'll put the link to that in the description of the video, which is a buddy to this. And the blog basically is me explaining how tips and tricks that I've learned along the course of my self-harm journey, which is what helped me stop. So distraction techniques, coping strategies. It's a long one, as a warning, but there's 3 different self-harm alternatives mentioned, and I mentioned 3 coping strategies that I found helpful as well. So please do go check that out. These two kind of go together because it's such a special occasion. I wanted to kind of do more than just one video or one blog. I wanted to do one of each. I don't know what's going on with my throat, but anyway. So on to the main topic of this video. As I mentioned, I was self-harming for 10 years, which, if you think about it, is just ridiculous. 10 years of my life I was self-harming. It's just, even for me, and I was the one doing it, it's still sort of, when I look back, go, blimey, was it that long? Because it doesn't feel like it was in some ways. But when I first started self-harming, I was almost 15. I'm just trying to think. It was just before my 15th birthday. It was in November, and I'm a December baby, so yeah. And there was a lot of stuff going on personally, which I won't go into, but because it's not really relevant for now. But basically, it started off like any other addiction, which I say in my blog, so I'm not going to overlap myself too much. And basically, initially, it was just cutting was my main method of self-harm. I don't know why that was the one I chose or came across, it just was. But it was the same as any other addiction to start with. I did a few injuries to myself, really minor ones, just sort of surface scratches, and no more, and that was enough. And it went on like that for a while. That was enough. That helped me get through whatever emotional thing I was going through at the time. But then, like I said, all other addictions, it gets worse because to get the same level of relief emotionally, you have to do more severe injuries or more injuries each time. So I went from, I don't know, doing, say, 3 cuts every 3 cuts a week, to then needing to do 6 cuts in about 3 days. And you can see how it got slowly. Before I knew it, as I said in the blog, it snuck up on me, and before I knew it, the self-harm was in charge of me, not the other way around, which is how I thought it was. But I didn't realise what was going on until it got really, well, pretty bad. Which is why I always say, please try not to self-harm at all, because it can just get hold of you, and once it gets hold of you, it grabs hold and it doesn't let go for it. Well, it will eventually, case in point, but it's a really, really hard battle to fight. Anyway, it got with, I'm not trying not to be too graphic or triggering here, but my self-harm, it was 10 years. It got to the point where I was self-harming every day. Sometimes on a really bad day, it was twice a day. Now, that's how bad it got for me. And the severity of the injuries got worse as well, not just the regularity of how often I was doing it, but the severity of the injuries. Again, without being too graphic and triggering, it got to the point where I was having to go to minor injuries, my local minor injuries department, every time I self-injured. It was that bad that it had got to that point. I really hope I haven't triggered anybody by saying that. I'm trying to keep it as easy to hear as possible without setting anybody off, but I'm aware that sometimes even the mention of self-harm can trigger somebody, so apologies if I have. That's not the intention, I promise. But it got really bad. I was doing it to the point where I was, like I said, needing to go and have medical treatment every single time, and it was every day, sometimes twice a day. But the reason for this is to prove that even if it gets that bad or worse, if it had got to a point where I was doing it worse, I still feel strongly that you can come back from it. I'm case in point. I got to that stage and how bad it was to now where I haven't self-harmed a single time in any way, shape or form in 2 years. After 10 years of habit, I managed to break it, and I'm now 2 years free. So I'm hoping that that in itself will provide inspiration that it is possible. Trust me, it is possible to break a habit after 10 years. It's not easy. I will not lie and say that it is easy and say that it was a breeze. I had to go through hell and back to get where I am. And I had to fight, I had to resist urges, I had to employ every sort of possible coping strategy that I could even imagine and more. Such as one of the things I did, which people might look at me and go, "You what?" I went up to a local park near where I live, like a national park, and decided, because I was that angry and I was struggling with self-harm urges, that rather than take it out on me, I would pick up a dead branch that had fallen off a tree and beat the trunk of the tree with said branch. And I was stood there like an idiot, shouting and cursing and belting this tree with a branch. I didn't cause the tree any harm or anything before anybody gets on my back. But I was basically letting my anger out via that way, so I didn't self-harm. So when I say I've tried a lot of different techniques, I really have, including going up into into the middle of a forest and beating a tree with a stick. But you have to do whatever works, and it might take you to some strange places and strange situations, but if it stops you from self-harming, at the end of the day, isn't that worth it? Is it not worth it to be able to say, be like me and say, it's 2 years since I self-harmed. Today is 2 flaming years since I did anything to myself. And that is huge. And unless you've self-harmed, you will never understand how huge. You can relate, but you'll never completely get it unless you've been in the same boat and actually struggled with self-harm yourself. But yeah, I'm trying to keep this relatively short, so I hope I haven't gone on too long. But basically, it is doable. I am 2 years free, which is my main accomplishment, my main goal, because like I mentioned at the beginning, I never thought I would get here. I never thought I could. There were several points where I didn't even think I could make a week self-harm free. Never mind 2 years. Never mind a year. And I remember actually a year ago talking to my counsellor at the time, and I was recently, you know, I was coming up for a year self-harm free at this point, and she was saying to me, you can do it, you know, have faith. And she said, have you stopped self-harm? And it was like, well, I couldn't even bring myself to say the words that I have stopped. So to be where I am now is huge. But the hope for this is to inspire others. You can also do it. You can do it too. If I can do it, you can do it. It won't be easy, like I said, and there's going to be bumps in the road, there will be problems. I don't know how many times I tried to stop before I was successful. I can't even think. But there were several, at least, I don't know, 7, 8, if not more, times that I tried to quit self-harm and failed for various reasons. But yet I'm still here, 2 years on, self-harm free. So hopefully you can take that away with you, and it'll use it as strength or inspiration or something. And if you go on my blog, there'll be some tips as to how I got to this point. So I'm hoping that that'll help you. Let me know what you thought of this video. If you like it, give me a like. If you want to see more of what I've done, subscribe to the channel, and I hope it gives you inspiration. It certainly, if I was watching somebody say that they were self-harm free after 10-year battle, it would inspire me to think, oh, maybe I can do it too. So hopefully that's what I've achieved here. Anyway, thanks for listening, guys. Take care. Bye.